So I want you to picture a map. We're not talking about the kind drawn up with satellites, lasers, or, perfect GPS coordinates. No, this is a map etched right into the soil, woven entirely into human memory. Picture this. The air is warm. It's a beautifully hazy late summer evening. And we find ourselves right inside the cab of Caleb's dusty, rattling farm truck. You can almost smell the dry earth and cracked leather in there. But glowing incredibly sharply against that worn-out dashboard is Artie. He's plugged right into the center console, projecting this incredibly crisp, flawless 3D holographic grid. But here's the catch. According to the map rendering on that grid, they aren't on a road at all. They are literally floating in an endless, empty, white void. Artie speaks up, and his voice is this perfect mix of crisp AI articulation and just utter perplexity. He says, "Caleb, according to the National Registry, we are currently positioned in a soybean field, yet my sensors are detecting a 4-way stop and 100% asphalt density." Now, Caleb doesn't even glance at the flashing blue hologram. He just keeps one heavy hand totally loose on the steering wheel and says, "County paved it last month, just to see if it helped with the dust." Hold on, let's ask Miller. He completely brushes off the whole digital anomaly. The truck slowly rolls to a halt. Outside, bathed in this gorgeous, rich golden hour light, Old Man Miller is leaning heavily against a weathered fence post. He pauses, looks at the truck, and just slowly spits a sunflower seed right into the tall grass. You really get the sense that out here, time just moves at a completely different, profoundly analog pace. Caleb calls out over the low, steady rumble of the idling engine. "Miller, which way to the new Peterson barn?" Miller just kind of rubs his chin, getting this faintly amused spark in his eyes. "Well," he rasps out, his voice sounding a lot like dry gravel, "you're going to want to go down past where the old schoolhouse burned down in '82. Take a left. Keep going until you see a dog that looks like he's lost his mind. That's the Wilson place. Keep going past that until you get the feeling you've gone too far. Then turn right." Well, back inside the cab, Artie's cooling fans suddenly whine into absolute overdrive. His softly glowing interface flashes to this frantic, urgent red. He blurts out, "Caleb, this data is non-navigable. I have absolutely no record in my databases of any fire occurring in the year 1982. And he doesn't stop there. Furthermore, Artie continues, practically trembling with digital indignation. "I cannot calculate the feeling of going too far. That is a subjective emotional state, and a disturbed dog is a mobile biological unit, not a fixed geographical waypoint." Right outside the window, Miller is squinting through the dusty glass, peering at those flashing dashboard lights with just deep suspicion. He looks back at Caleb, totally bewildered, and asks, "Who's the talking radio, Caleb? He sounds a bit high-strung." Caleb just waves a hand to Miller, drops the truck into gear, and they leave the pavement behind. They're bouncing down this incredibly narrow, deeply rutted dirt road now. A mile or two down, they pass a really dense patch of thick green ivy, and it's slowly swallowing up a pile of charred, ancient-looking stones buried right there in the landscape. Artie's scanners immediately sweep the roadside. The flashing red lights suddenly pause, shifting back to this tentative, wondrous blue color. "Observation," he states, and you can hear this strange note of dawning realization. "I have detected a high concentration of carbonized timber beneath that ivy. Pinging local network, the old schoolhouse is a persistent ghost tag. Recalculating path." So they keep rolling down the dusty path. And then, suddenly, right on cue, this scruffy, wildly energetic dog bounds out from beneath a rusted gate. It stops dead on the side of the road, barking aggressively at a passing yellow butterfly. Artie processes this whole chaotic scene in a split second. "Waypoint detected," he announces, completely falling back on his clinical precision. "The Wilson Biological Unit is currently out of calibration. Proceeding straight." Now the road ahead just stretches out. It becomes this hypnotic blur of endless cornfields and weathered wooden fence posts. The visual anchors just completely vanish, and Artie's internal clock begins this relentless countdown. 30 seconds of nothing. 60 seconds. This totally featureless landscape is pushing his navigation algorithms to the absolute brink of a system failure. "Caleb," Artie warns, and his voice is literally stuttering as the empty dirt road rolls on and on. "I am experiencing a severe displacement error. The metrics are void. I have the feeling we have gone too far." "That's the turn," Caleb shouts triumphantly over the engine. He swings the heavy steering wheel hard to the right, and the tires kick up this massive cloud of pale dust. See? You're getting the hang of it. As the dust finally settles against the windshield, this absolutely magnificent structure comes into view. It's a massive, weathered barn. Its wooden slats are deeply textured by decades of wind and rain, and bathed warmly in that lingering golden sunset light, it just looks timeless, like it's rooted deep into the earth. A really soft beam of light emanates from Artie's projection, slowly sweeping across the face of the towering structure. His data processors quietly analyze the timber framing and the rusted, galvanized roof, calculating its origins to be firmly in the mid-20th century. Scanning complete, Artie reports, and his voice is remarkably subdued now, almost gentle. The new Peterson barn was constructed in 1956. However, my logic circuits remain conflicted. Why is it titled new? Caleb cuts the engine, and the sudden silence in the cab is filled only by the sound of the evening wind rushing through the corn. Because the old one blew away in the 50 tornado, Caleb says, with this deep, quiet reverence. In this town, Artie, 70 years is practically last week. Inside the shadowy cab of the truck, the frantic flashing on the dashboard finally ceases. Artie just dims his projection lights down to a soft, respectful amber. And for a really long moment, there are no calculations, no error alerts. He simply sits in the quiet of the dusk, taking in the ancient structure right there before them. Status, Artie finally whispers, and his synthetic voice is hushed with this incredible kind of digital reverence. Destination reached. Navigation mode. Narrative-based. True north, he pauses, scanning that invisible, beautifully uncomputable landscape, located entirely in memory.